to turn everybody in the country black. And how would the white man allegedly be the superior race if something about his or her gene pool included black people? Meaning they would have to identify based upon color as a black person. They were treating black people as a separate class of species. They were saying that a child procreated by a white person and a black person was defective, that something was wrong with that child, that it was possessed by the devil, because the church forbid integration. And so these attitudes and these behaviors, which was a form of insanity, I might add, that lasted for centuries into present day, lingered throughout many of the social systems and the functions of the society in which we live. And so when people who have that racism embedded in them are looking at what can cause this disruption in the races, a black man like me is like the biggest threat to a racist ever. The black man who could actually date a woman that's any color based upon not race but humanity, that's a threat to their whole system. See, they didn't really tell the white women that we're using you. We're using you to make sure you're the generator to make sure that the white man stays superior. They didn't say that. They took dominion over everybody. They whipped their wives. They beat their slaves. They beat their children. They beat their horses. They wanted dominion. It was very sociopathic. And so in present day, when they were trying to control globalism, when they were trying to control the diversity in the country, when they were trying to make sure that black people never catch up, so to speak, they have to take out the people that can make the playing field appear level. So if you're a healthy black man and everything about you is equal to or better than a white guy, if the playing field is leveled, then you're their threat. You're their competition. And they were willing to take the whole race of white people and say, we got to stop the ones that are just like him. Our generation grew up on the Michael Jordan effect. Be like Mike. And Mike had a father and he had a family and he went and achieved these incredible levels of success. And other black people who had that something that they felt Michael Jordan had by nature were punished because of his achievement. They didn't want to think about the possibility of other black people who were capable in the ways that Michael Jordan is capable of being, having a family, reaching levels of economics that most white people will never get, assuming a power and an influence in the country that couldn't be stopped. The mere thought of that scared them. It made them envious. It made them jealous. And they punished dark-skinned boys and dark-skinned men who had a resemblance to all of the dark black men over the course of history who have succeeded. And if you look at the facts and do your research, you will see that I'm exactly right. So it's almost like when you achieve as a black man, you know that a lot of people of your own race are going to be sacrificed, exterminated, because you achieve. And that something about what you're getting to achieve can be compromised if you act like you're trying to support other people who look like you. And you can't tell that part. You can't say that part publicly. It's not that Michael Jordan was intentionally trying to do something to exploit his own race of people and other dark-skinned boys. He felt that he worked hard and got what he earned and deserved. But from a social standpoint, a lot of young men and boys were set up for false hope, believing that they could have a dream to attain those kinds of hoop dreams that would never really come to pass for the majority of people. But it was something that you could build inspiration around. So that even if people were living in a fantasy that would never come to pass, they could feel like they were a part of the culture of that time. Michael Jordan was not the only person who succeeded. He was not the only person that was dark-skinned. He was not the only person that did very well economically. He was the one that the country invested in. And they invested in him after he went in, coming in as a highly taught player, but took the game to a level that nobody could anticipate. Not just the game itself, but the whole industry, the whole league, the whole history of the sport. He took it to another level because he showed that somebody who had been counted out, somebody who had been told they weren't good enough, somebody who had been criticized for even being too good, too much of a showboat, too selfish, shoots too much, anything, could overcome it all and still achieve, with everybody for him and everybody against him too. And people were glued to the screen and mesmerized not just by him but his team, because everybody wanted to see somebody beat the odds at a time when it was like everybody was being told that you're stuck, that you can't do it, you're not good enough. And this guy was able to make everybody, just by having a pair of shoes, believe that, look, for a few seconds, if you get these shoes, you can fly too. You can fly with me. All you got to do is watch me play. And to see somebody get up that many times, year after year, and do something like that, and take the game to that level in front of everybody on a national stage as the number one entertainment venue for the world, was incredible. And a lot of white people embraced that just like everybody else. But some of them also envied it, because he took that stage and showed people what can happen if black men get freedom and money. Which would level the playing field, and the thought of being what was considered the superior race being second class to a bunch of Negroes like Michael Jordan was something that caused a lot of fear and upset. And so they punished and exterminated and served injustice to a lot of dark-skinned, very qualified people. Michael Jordan is not the best athlete that may have existed. He's just the best one that we had a chance to see. And boy, was he incredible. He was worth the investment. He delivered. He worked for it. You could see it. It was impossible to do something like that and not deserve it. It was easy to envy somebody like that, because not only do you get all the attention you can possibly want beyond what you even could stand, you got the national stage, you got the economics to make whatever you want to make happen, you have the access to whatever part of the world you want to go into, and nobody can really tell you no. How could black people who had never really achieved much not envy something like that? So it became a thing where either you loved this man because he gave you the joy of being a part of that culture, or you hated him because you knew you could never be him or even anybody like him. And so when they were saying, be like Mike, they used the criminal justice system the law and racism to entrap and incriminate people who look like Mike. And that's all I can tell you. And I hope that puts some things into perspective. And Michael Jordan has faced a lot of criticism because people felt like he should have done more for what he achieved by the people who invested what they had to empower him at that level, supporting his dream, supporting his flight, supporting his game and his team to get him there. A lot of people felt that he didn't do enough for other black people who never had the opportunities and the stability that he had, who also had the ability to achieve greatness and were never given the opportunity or had their opportunity taken. And so athletes face a lot of challenges. It's not as easy as it seems. And some of that might be true and some of that might be true. It might be true on both sides. But we know that if you were a part of that culture, we know what the culture was that got us where we are now. And those people worked hard to take the game to that level so that everybody could be a part of it, and to give that much to the game and then be criticized personally as if they are responsible for everybody else's lack of achievement or deficiencies is tough and it's difficult. But you have a social responsibility when you achieve. And I do believe there were some failures. All those athletes paying fines and smoking drugs and buying prostitutes and doing all of this stuff that got a lot of them in trouble, they didn't really understand what was at stake. And Michael Jordan did. And the intelligent black men who had that kind of ability, whether they were larger than him or shorter than him, created a lot of fear amongst white people and a lot of envy amongst the white people that wanted to be racist. He diversified the league. He diversified the country. He showed that black people and white people can play together and succeed together and spend together and invest together, along with many other athletes. But just remember that many people paved the way for Michael Jordan to have that opportunity before he ever touched the basketball. And I personally challenge Michael Jordan to consider these things that I have described here in his future investments, because a lot of them have failed to live up to some of their social responsibility to protect their investments and protect their interests and to protect their lives and their families. Because somebody will go out and attack your child or your wife because they envy you. But at the same time, some of them were going out rubbing it in people's face, how easy they have it. So there's a lot of work to do. And we should be thankful when we have an opportunity before us to see that there's a lot more work to do. I always wonder what happens to these people who got so much from society who just fall off the planet. Like what happened to Isaiah Thomas? Where's Magic Johnson? Where are all of these people who clearly do something and have done things to help people, but not at the level and in the ways that were necessarily needed, or we wouldn't be in this position? If you're only going to use achievement at other people's expense to supply yourself, then what is your social responsibility to the society in which you live when you see that there's trouble that you're supposed to help solve because people helped you solve your problem to be able to achieve at the level that you did? And I think all of the veteran athletes need to take a listen to this piece.